I finished my second PhD and decided to leave. The past few years I've been working on my artistic PhD in music, and now I've recently handed it in. So, strangely, this also marks the moment that I'm moving away from my field. This might sound absurd after spending years specializing in something. And I felt that tension, especially in the final phase, the tension of focusing so intensely on something that I, at the same time, did not see as part of my future. I did love the project itself, though, just not the career and field it represented. Finishing it was like finishing a ritual, while it felt like my soul was already someplace else. The topic and the content of my work were actually in line with where I stand, and I brought a lot of my experiences into the project, including a lot of criticism of some of the power dynamics, gatekeeperism, or mythologized artist roles, the increasing individualism, the focus on creators as some kind of special individuals and masterminds. Those things have occupied my mind, and in the end, I find myself being more interested in society, ethical questions, and first and foremost, how to navigate this world, this social system. In a way, the specific institution that provided me with this opportunity provided me also with time to contemplate on these issues, and I feel like I see things with more clarity now than a few years ago. The institution that granted me this opportunity by accepting my project and giving me a 3-year position to complete this PhD, interestingly, they also offered me a way out of this field. This insight has grown slowly. The past years and even before this project, I have spent in a sort of limbo. I still believed that some of the difficulties I was experiencing would fade if I just waited resiliently. I had already invested so much of my time and resources in this career path and did not even see leaving as a possibility. And I think this is something many people experience. Our adult identity is often intertwined with the context that we've built around us over the years. We might position ourselves within a profession and within a social circle. Because of this, when we leave, we do not only leave a profession, but an identity. Because we are deeply integrated in our life context, and necessarily it becomes part of us. These days, at the same time, I'm also renovating my apartment in order to sell it. So right now, my life looks a bit like this. The images are from the past month. It struck me that renovation is a surprisingly good metaphor for life transitions and what they require from us. So I wanted to make this video from the middle of renovation chaos. So I'm on my way into something new, although I don't yet know exactly what that is, since it has not materialized yet. And I'm renovating an apartment for sales without knowing exactly where I'm going to live. Sometimes you have to create the space for new things to happen first, before they have happened, and before you have built any new future direction. That might sound simple, but it is not. It can be slow, uncomfortable, and full of resistance. So, in this video, I want to share 3 perspectives on rebuilding, on leaving one chapter behind, and learning how to move forward before the next one is fully visible. Why is it so difficult? There is deep safety in what we already know, even when it makes us unhappy. In addition, we might be exhausted, have burnout, and end up pathologizing ourselves instead of exploring critically the structures around us. Rebuilding requires a certain type of energy, while you may already be exhausted. We are often made to believe that we first have to recover from whatever we are experiencing, and then later we can make future decisions. My perspective is the opposite. Move now and rebuild now. You can rest and heal later. My next video will be about that topic more specifically. I feel like this way of thinking, action comes first, does not only challenge some of the mainstream narratives about healing, I don't even like the word healing, but it also challenges the world around us, even the society around us. And I believe that there are a lot of forces that intend to keep us stuck. Maybe not like individuals intending, or maybe that too, but structurally, even if this intention is hidden. But there are forces working against you changing your life circumstances. It is like the surrounding world wants you to stay where you are and not rise above the situation. Our transitioning might challenge the view of some of the people around us. And then there's the attachment. Sometimes our attachment to the current circumstances make us not even consider the possibility of leaving. Maybe we already invested too much in something, especially if we do not have the experience of change from before, how we integrate in new life circumstances in such a way that it alters our perspective, nervous system, our neural pathways form in new ways, and even our identity changes when we are located in a new context. Too often we assume, or at least hope, that we can just change our perspective within the situation where we already are, and somehow things will change for the better. That would be a nicer and much easier solution. Perhaps you even have to come to a point where you feel like almost anything is better than the current life you are living, where transitioning itself becomes a value regardless of what lies ahead.
Frankly, I'd rather have a job wiping Saddam Hussein's arse.
That situation sounds like a tragedy. Anything is better than this, like, this really sucks. But it's actually a space of empowerment. It is a space where everything begins, when you don't really have anything to lose. When I arrived at that point, it did not feel heavy anymore, but I felt a sort of lightness and clarity. There was not any doubt or rumination about whether I should stay and how I could make the staying possible, regardless of my experiences. So, to conclude, transitioning rarely begins from a place of simple curiosity. It often begins in tension, in traumatic life events, exhaustion, estrangement, or even collapse. And from that place, the question becomes, what do you actually do? How do you rebuild? So I want to share 3 grounded, very practical perspectives on rebuilding, on leaving one chapter behind, even when the next one doesn't exist yet. 1. Decide how long you are allowed not to know. When you leave something behind, there is often enormous pressure to immediately replace it with a new plan. We like to know immediately, concretely, what our life will look like. But not only is this scenario not possible because the path does not exist yet, but it can also keep us from making any changes at all, since we usually do not have the future, the alternative, completely figured out. To maintain certain safety or a systematic approach, yet really do transform your life, you have to be aware that it will take time before you have the answers and before the new life has formed. If you consciously give yourself a period for searching, months or even years, you remove the feeling that you should have it all figured out. The chaos and slowness of that period are not a failure. They are part of the process, and you have planned them beforehand as part of the process. Yet I say this with hesitance. You probably already have a sense of direction at this point, and the feeling of urge is actually helpful for leaving and rebuilding. The time that you give yourself, that's the framework. The urgency is the attitude. The time is the framework. The urgency is the engine. I'm not sure whether I'm ironic or not. The energy, the forcing yourself to move in new directions, even when it is uncomfortable, is needed. First comes transitioning, then comes rest. 2. Leaving is not a feeling. Feelings and decisions might fluctuate emotionally. Most days you might feel certain, yet some days you doubt the decision. And the doubt might override the leaving because it feels so much more safe to stay. You think that maybe it's still possible somehow. So this is what you do. Align your daily life with the decision you made. Leaving cannot be based on a fluctuating feeling. Leaving needs to be structured. It needs to be part of your day-to-day to-do list. The challenge is that leaving takes time and you need to create a structure around it. If your daily activities are not aligned with the decision to leave something, it becomes very easy to drift back into the old world. Maybe new opportunities occur within your old life context, and suddenly you said yes without even thinking about it. Finishing what we are doing takes time. Very few of us can change careers or networks overnight, or move to a new location the next day. Real transitions require small daily actions that support the future direction, and also finishing the old direction. It requires the ability to hold the tension during this time, and then carrying through that change. Leaving and changing our life context might be one of the most challenging things we do. It is not a happy thing. It might require all you've got. 3. You cannot see a path that does not exist yet. You cannot see a path that does not exist yet. When we change direction, we often search for certainty before moving, but real change means entering a space where the path is not visible yet. The discomfort of not knowing is part of the process. It is a calculated risk that you take in order to allow something genuinely new to emerge. And anticipating discomfort is part of the successful transitioning. You're okay with being uncomfortable and even very uncomfortable for a while. Just a very simple metaphor from the renovation. I shifted 3 ceiling lamps recently. The system is pretty old and it was not easy to figure out how to successfully attach the new lamps. I had to first order some new parts online and then those didn't fit, so I had to buy yet a new part, and just standing there in the half dark, since electricity had to be turned off, trying to look into the hole with the cables and figure out how to solve things. It did not just require focus, but it actually required me forcing myself through the resistance to do it. I did not feel like doing it. It was not fun. Yet after the first successful lamp, the others were unproblematic, and I did not even have to think about it, nor be particularly focused on it. I just did it. The path was, in a way, already there, created, and I knew how to follow it. When you are transitioning in life, the path is not visible to you yet. You have to make it, create the path along the way. Just knowing this in a very grounded way, and that you have to push yourself to take those small steps and the time is helpful. Maybe you want to create systems for yourself with small rewards, whatever helps you move forward bit by bit. So, to conclude, transitions are not clean, they are not immediate, and they are not comfortable. And sometimes the most important step is not knowing where you are going, but creating the space and time for it, the time to figure that out. Very complex, very difficult situations might require something more radical than understanding the situation, something that goes beyond the understanding. A change might require you to break with some of the collective narratives themselves. Thank you for watching.